Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something really fascinating. It's this kind of historical paradox. The story of a massive theatrical flop, a real failure.
Yeah.
But somehow it ends up launching one of the biggest cultural shifts in Western history.
It's pretty wild when you think about it. We're talking about that exact moment when, the very neat, orderly world of the Enlightenment starts to crack a bit.
Right, under the pressure of, well, just human feeling. And it all kicks off, bizarrely, with this one spectacularly bad play.
It really is proof that sometimes maybe the title matters more than the actual content.
You might be right.
Because this flop, this total non-event in theater history, it gave its name and really its whole feeling to what we now call Romanticism.
It's like a shorthand, then.
Exactly. A shortcut to understanding that that big pivot when Europe started thinking maybe genuine, messy human experience is more important than just cold, hard reason.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The anecdote itself is it sounds made up.
It really does.
It's April Fool's Day, 1777. We're in Leipzig, Kingdom of Saxony. And this playwright, Friedrich Maximilian Klinger, he puts on his new drama, supposedly based loosely on Romeo and Juliet.
And loosely is putting it mildly. The sources describe it as just overloaded with coincidence, so much so that it completely baffled the audience at the time. They still expected, classical structure, logic. This had none of that.
So give us a taste. How absurd are we talking?
Well, okay, you have your feuding families, right? The Berkeleys and the Bushys, stand-ins for Montagues and Capulets, basically.
Got it.
The feud kicks off because Lord Berkeley loses his estate, blames Lord Bushy. Standard enough, but then 10 years pass.
Okay.
And Bushy's son, Carl, who calls himself Wild, by the way,
Naturally.
he decides the best thing to do is sail to America with his buddies.
To America.
To fight in the Revolutionary War, on the side of the colonists, no less.
Okay, that's ambitious for a German play in 1777.
Right. So Wild and his friends stop at an American inn. And this inn, it must have been like a magnet. Yeah. Because who else shows up? Lord Berkeley, his sister, Lady Catherine, and his daughter, Jenny Caroline.
The whole family. At the same random American inn.
The whole family. And of course, Jenny immediately recognizes Wilde, so they have to hide his identity. It's already getting complicated.
But wait, there's more, right?
Oh, yes. Because if that coincidence wasn't enough, Klinger throws in another character, a sea captain named Boyer, who it turns out is actually Berkeley's long-lost son, Harry.
Of course he is.
And naturally, this Boyer/Harry character already knows Wilde/Carl. He lost a duel to him previously.
You couldn't make this stuff up, so the climax must be just chef's kiss.
It's a complete pileup. Boyer casually mentions he left Wilde's father, Lord Bushy, adrift at sea in the Atlantic.
Just left him there.
Yep. So Boyer and Wilde duel again. Boyer gets wounded. But then they make up.
Okay.
But then Boyer's slave confesses, actually, we rescued Lord Bushy. And then, like clockwork, old Lord Bushy himself walks into the very same inn, miraculously fine, clears his name about the whole estate thing, and boom, the young lovers are happy. No tragedy, just terrible logistics.
Wow. Wow. So bombed.
Oh, spectacularly. Closed right away. Tried again in Frankfurt, bombed again, basically vanished.
Rightfully so, it sounds like.
Except for that title. Klinger called this mess Sturm und Drang.
Sturm und Drang. Storm and stress. And that name,
Yeah.
it just clicked, didn't it? It described more than the play.
Exactly. It described the whole feeling in the air across Europe in the late 18th century.
So why? What was it about storm and stress that resonated so much it became the name for this huge cultural shift?
Well, I think it gave people a name for something they were already feeling but couldn't quite articulate. For a century, the Enlightenment had been all about logic, science, reason as the only way forward.
Order and control.
Precisely. But by the 1770s, people were starting to feel like maybe reason isn't enough. It doesn't explain the speed of change or individual suffering or, the sheer violence of things like the American Revolution happening in the background.
Right. The world felt chaotic, stormy, stressful.
Exactly. The title just nailed it. It provided a sort of linguistic anchor for that collective anxiety.
It's interesting, too, because the movement itself, Sturm und Drang, kind of grew out of Enlightenment thinking, didn't it? Like you said, the American Revolution is in Klinger's play.
Yeah, and that war was fought using Enlightenment ideas, natural rights, self-governance, a social contract. All very logical concepts.
But when those ideas hit the real world,
they exploded. They turned into raw passion, fury, nationalism. That's the tension right there.
So the Enlightenment gave people the tools, the ideas, for a more rational world.
But using those tools actually showed the limits of pure rationality. Think about it if you're a noble losing your land, like in Klinger's silly play. Or maybe you're an artisan seeing your craft vanish because of early industrialization.
Logic isn't much comfort.
Not at all. Your reaction is emotional. It's fear, it's anger, it's this desperate need for individuality, for instinct.
And this is where Jean-Jacques Rousseau fits in so perfectly, right?
Yeah.
He seems like the bridge between these two worlds.
Oh, absolutely. Rousseau is kind of the embodiment of the Sturm und Drang moment. He's got both sides in it.
Explain that.
Okay, so you have his very enlightened ideas, the social contract, popular sovereignty, the right to overthrow tyranny. I mean, that's the philosophical bedrock for democratic revolutions. Pure reason, almost.
Okay, got it.
But then you read his other stuff, and he's celebrating intense personal emotion over cold logic. He writes about his love for wild, untamed nature. He argues that civilization actually corrupts us, that we're naturally good.
So he's providing the rational arguments for revolution.
And also the emotional justification for the artistic movement that comes next, which kind of rejects the rigidity of all that reason.
Wow. So the Enlightenment, with thinkers like Hume, Locke, Kant,
Yeah.
it created this space, this vacuum almost.
That only intense feeling could really fill. The Sturm und Drang shift was like the soul pushing back against a world that was becoming too rationalized, too industrialized, too impersonal. The art had to scream back with feeling.
Which brings us to Romanticism in art. How did this storm and stress translate visually? I love that quote from Baudelaire.
Oh yeah, the French poet. He said, Romanticism is precisely situated neither in choice of subject nor in exact truth, but in a way of feeling.
A way of feeling. Not just what you paint, but how it feels.
Exactly. And that way of feeling was a huge break from what came right before. Think about, say, Rococo art.
Okay. Lots of pastels,
Yeah.
aristocrats lounging.
Pretty much. Delicate scenes, garden parties, flirtations. It was all about surface charm, decoration, the detached life of the upper classes. Very controlled, very pleasant.
It sounds like the exact opposite of storm and stress, like trying to ignore the storm outside.
It kind of was. Rococo was about detachment. Romanticism was about engagement, deep, intense engagement. The Romantics went looking for subjects that Rococo artists avoided: the huge, the scary, the historical drama, and especially the raw power of nature.
So if Rococo painters were trying to control the canvas, make it pretty.
The Romantic painter wanted to be almost overwhelmed by the subject, to channel that intensity.
Okay, let's talk examples. Where do we see this Sturm und Drang feeling first? In Germany, maybe, with Caspar David Friedrich.
Friedrich is the perfect starting point, the absolute visual poet of this feeling. Think about his most famous painting, Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog.
Right, the guy on the cliff looking out.
Exactly. But it's not just a nice landscape, is it? It's this tiny human figure confronting this vast, misty, unknowable, slightly terrifying expanse.
Yeah, you feel small looking at it. A bit anxious, maybe.
Precisely. It's not about admiring the view. It's about feeling the isolation, the awe, the sublime.
The sublime. That's a key concept here, isn't it? That mix of beauty and terror.
Absolutely central. The sublime was that feeling you get when you face something so immense, like a giant mountain range, or a raging storm at sea, that it just dwarfs human understanding and control. It's storm and stress made visible, made beautiful, but also scary.
Okay, so the movement spreads from Germany. Where else does this passion pop up?
Yeah.
Spain, Goya.
Goya is fascinating. His early stuff, very Rococo, painting for the courts.
Right.
But then he lives through war, invasion, political chaos, and his art transforms. It becomes brutal, honest, full of passion and horror.
Like his Disasters of War series, or the 3rd of May, 1808 painting.
Exactly. Those aren't detached observations. They are raw, visceral cries of anguish and fury. He stopped painting pretty pictures and started painting the terrifying truth of human experience. That passion is what makes his work so powerful, so unforgettable. It's Sturm und Drang turned into political and social commentary.
And then in England, you get artists like Turner.
Right.
Painting storms that look like pure energy.
J.M.W. Turner, yes. He wasn't just painting a ship in a storm, he was painting the storm itself. The light, the water, the wind, all blurring together into this vortex of energy. It's almost abstract, pure emotion.
And Constable.
Constable took the English landscape, which could be quite gentle, and infused it with this deep emotional resonance, paying attention to the sky, the weather. Blake had his mystical visions, completely rejecting rationalism for intense personal spirituality.
And in France.
Géricault.
Theodore Géricault, yeah. His Raft of the Medusa is a prime example. A massive painting, history painting scale.
But not about gods or kings.
No, it's about a contemporary disaster, a shipwreck, real people suffering, dying. He put their raw, desperate struggle on this monumental canvas. That was radical. It elevated common, messy human drama to the highest level of art.
And this even reached America, right? With the Hudson River School.
It did. Thomas Cole and others took that European idea of the sublime, that awe in the face of nature,
and applied it to the huge, wild landscapes of America. Exactly. Creating these vast paintings that felt distinctly American, full of potential, maybe a bit of danger, but definitely fueled by that same romantic passion and focus on individual feeling within nature.
So across the board, whether it's history, nature, politics, the defining thing is this added intensity, this emotional core.
That's the thread. A passion and intensity that just wasn't there in the Rococo or even the Baroque in the same way. Reason, Enlightenment logic, it was still there, driving science and politics.
But the art was insisting that the internal human feeling response to all that change was the real story. The Sturm und Drang beneath the surface.
Yeah, you could say reason was sort of buried under the storm and stress of the era, at least in the art world.
So what does this all mean, looking back?
Well, it means that whole period, the late 18th century, it was this incredibly fertile, messy time. You had Enlightenment ideals, democracy, liberty, science smashing up against individualism, raw emotion, intuition.
And that clash wasn't a mistake, it was actually creative.
Absolutely. That tension, that conflict, it basically forged modern consciousness. The idea that both reason and passion drive us, often in contradictory ways.
And that tension never really went away, did it?
Not at all. That line between reason and passion, it runs right through modern art. Sturm und Drang was the launchpad for so much that came later. Think about the intense emotions in expressionism.
Right, like Munch's Scream.
Exactly. Or the diving into the subconscious and surrealism, even the angry absurdity of daddyism, fighting against the... It's all, in a way, echoing that original storm and stress, the individual pushing back against the world that feels overwhelming or dehumanizing.
It's just amazing that really, the whole way modern art values emotional honesty arguably tracks back to a play nobody liked.
A play with a terrible plot that barely ran.
It shows how culture shifts in weird ways. Sometimes it's just a phrase, a title that captures something people are feeling.
Klinger wrote a bad play, no doubt. But he somehow managed to perfectly name the inner turmoil of an entire era, and that name stuck.
So our encouragement to you, as always, is to live curious and love art. Next time you're in a museum, maybe don't just look for the technically perfect or the beautiful.
Yeah, look for the feeling. Look for the storm.
Find a painting that makes you feel something intense, awe, fear, maybe just confusion. Look for those dark, dramatic landscapes or those big, passionate historical scenes.
I remember the ridiculously plotted German play that, against all odds, gave that whole powerful way of feeling its name, Sturm und Drang.